Hey, how's it going? So in this video, I'm going to be talking about how you can use a Raspberry Pi 4 for web development. And the reason why this came about is because I have a very old MacBook Pro. It's about 7 years old, and I need to upgrade it. However, I'm going to wait for the Mac Air 2, I guess the next generation with the later chip. And since my MacBook is sort of kind of like half, with one foot in the grave, I wanted to see if there was something I could do, like as a stopgap measure. And I realized that I have never owned a high-end phone. Like my little, I've always gotten quote unquote budget phones, and they have been good enough for what I need to do. Which is mainly just browse the internet, check email, Slack, watch videos. And so like these quote unquote like budget phones have been good enough to do what to consume content. And so I was wondering, hey, what if I get a Raspberry Pi 4? Is it going to be good enough to do web development? And so that's what I got one, and I explored that question. And so here's the stack that I use. It's a monorepo. So for my personal project, it's about 200 files. Right now, I only have about 4 workspaces, so each workspace has around 50 files. So if you don't know what a monorepo is, it's instead of having one repo for every project, you just throw all your projects into one big repo. And the reason I do that is for just ease of development. I have one setup, tools that I share, and just one config, and everything works out of the box. I use TypeScript 4, Next 11. I haven't had time to upgrade to 12 yet. That means under the hood I use Webpack 5. Cell components, prettier, ESLint, and I also use Rollup because I have a component library. And of course, I do a lot of, since I'm a web dev, I need to surf the web all the time, right? And so the first thing is, like, out of the box is there's this test that'll measure browser performance. And so the first thing that you should know is that, like, the Raspberry Pi out of the box flunked that test, right? And again, this is like out of the box without any tweaks. And so it got a 10 on this browser test. And to see how bad that is, my budget phone scored a 20. So it was less than half as performant as my budget phone. And even with upgrade, there's like tweaks that you can do. Even with those tweaks, it was still just really going really slow. And I read that if you change to a lighter distro, that you can get better performance. And so in particular, I read about Kali Linux. And so what you see here is this is the Raspberry Pi 4 running Kali Linux. And out of the box, I was getting 15, so like it's almost like halfway as fast as my budget phone. And with the tweaks, which I haven't had a chance to do yet, because it's been going, it's been running good enough. So if you want to get better browser performance, you're going to have to switch out of the Raspberry Pi OS and use something like Kali Linux. Right, and so that's what all these tests are on, and it's not the end of the world, because Kali Linux is based on Debian, so you get all the same tooling, most of the same tooling that you that you get in the Raspberry Pi. So I have Visual Studio, I got Miniconda, I got all the stuff that I use. The only thing that I've noticed that hasn't been working is Bluetooth. And again, that's not like a big deal because you just swap the SD card out, right? So like if you want to use the Raspberry Pi OS, right, you just swap out the SD card and you're done. So that's been a very good solution for me so far. And so let me show you guys the performance. So this, whoa, give me 1 second. So this is the old Mac. This is its performance. And again, just to clarify, this is like compiling all of those 200 files, right? And running prettier in ESLint on all those 200-ish files. It would take the old Mac 24 seconds, prettier 6 seconds, ESLint 5 seconds. And to build an app, so one of those workspaces or slash projects, it would take Webpack maybe roughly like 73 seconds. And to build a component library, it would take it 14 seconds, right? And without further ado, this is how the Raspberry Pi performed, right? And you can see that it's about like 3 to 5 times slower than the old Mac, right? And so, so on paper at least, the numbers look pretty bad. But again, remember that this is running these commands on the on the entire repo, which I only do when I push update to GitLab, right? So I don't do that very frequently. And you know, the worst performer here is TypeScript, which is a little bit disappointing. I have not had a time to see if there's any optimizations that I can do, but that's the worst performer. I also had an idea as well, which is to swap out the SD card for what are those called? The external SSDs, right? And so you're going to get way better read-write performance out of those. And to get a sense of how fast they would be, what I did is I created a RAM disk on the Raspberry Pi. So if you don't know what that is basically you create a partition in memory, and Linux treats it like a directory. So I just put everything there. I enabled including the temp directory to run it out of memory. And when I did that, the numbers were way better. So less than 3 times as slow as the old Mac that I had. So the numbers are way better. So if you want to get better performance, you know, I'm going to definitely recommend getting one of those external SSDs, which I haven't done. And here, let me show you what the performance looks like on a day-to-day basis using Visual Studio. Where's Visual Studio? Is that it? Nope. All right, so here's Visual Studio, and here, so this is a TypeScript file, and I am going to actually probably zoom in first. Zoom in. And I'm going to show you guys here this part. So notice I'm getting compile errors, almost instantaneous, even though TypeScript runs really slow. I also get code completion. I also get code completion. Here it is. So a little sluggish, right? Not the best, but you know, it's doable. It's workable. The worst thing, probably though, out of all this thing is refactoring. So if I hit F2 to rename, oh man, that's gonna just suck. Oh, okay, or maybe not. Here we go. Okay, that wasn't too bad. So you as you can see, the actual even though the raw numbers were kind of bad, actually using this on just a regular basis is actually on a day-to-day is actually not that bad. And here, let me even run. One of the things I forgot to do is let me run the web server. Okay, So here we have a nextjs running, the development server running. So here you can see the website. It's up and running over here. And let me make a change in place. So let me change the color of this button to, I don't know, green or something. Alright. And here's the server running. As you can see, that was pretty fast. There we go. So it's actually pretty decent. So back to this thing, conclusions. So will I be using this to fully replace my MacBook until I get an Air? The answer is no. You saw the numbers, the raw numbers. They were pretty slow. They were pretty low. But I'll definitely be using this to complement my development. So if I need to make an update or a quick feature, I'll probably be using the Raspberry Pi. I still won't be putting away retiring the MacBook. But despite that, I mean, I paid $125 for it. So it's, I'm more than happy with the performance that I'm getting. Also note that this week there was an article out saying that the latest Raspberry Pi OS has made the Raspberry Pis 4 run even faster. So they upped the CPU clock, and so I haven't tried those. So and so that might make it even more usable. So that's it. Thank you.